everybody, and thank you for attending. It's wonderful to be here. I'm a TV anchor for Bloomberg, and I've got to say, not a day goes by where we don't talk about artificial intelligence. So it's great to be sat here with this panel of very esteemed guests to talk about the real world use cases for artificial intelligence. There's certainly a lot of hype about it in financial markets, but this is going to be an opportunity for us to talk about how AI is actually impacting our day-to-day, how it's increasing productivity, how businesses are incorporating AI, and then we're also going to touch on some of the challenges as well and the risks as we think about a responsible rollout, to use the term that His Excellency Mr. Alama referred to a short while ago. I wouldn't typically start off a panel this way, but I am going to start off telling you about a book I'm reading, actually. It's called The Coming Wave, and I'm sure many of you who are in the AI space have probably read it or you're familiar with it. But it's written by Mustafa Suleyman. He's the current CEO of Microsoft AI. And there was one paragraph that I came across yesterday, and he was saying, every time people talk about AI, the question always tends to veer towards, at what point is human intelligence going to be indistinguishable from artificial intelligence? So when are we going to get to this artificial general intelligence point, AGI? And people, there are different estimates of how quickly that's going to happen. Some say 5 years, some say 10, some say 20. And what he's saying is that's besides the point. What we need to focus on right now is what AI can offer us right now, not where we're going to get to in 5-10 years time, because we will get there, but how we can make the most of artificial intelligence today. So that's exactly what our panel is about. I'm just going to reintroduce our panelists very quickly. To my left, I've got Adel Ahmad Redha, the Deputy President of Emirates. Great to have you with us. To his left, we have Maja, she's Generative AI Research Director from Meta. To her left, we have the CEO of Commercial Bank of Dubai, Dr. Bernd van Linder. And to his left, we have Chris Cooper, the CEO of AIQ. So lots to talk about. Maya, I'm going to start with you, ladies first. We also talk a lot on our show about just how much money tech firms are spending on artificial intelligence. The CapEx numbers have really started to grow a lot. And I just wonder, from your perspective, really, and from the standpoint of Meta, where you see the biggest use cases for generative AI?
In principle, what is important for Meta is development of different models. That's definitely, like, we are one of the leaders for large language models, which are currently multimodal and so on. Llama is also the only model that is publicly available to everybody. This is in difference to other companies that keep their models private. So in principle, our model is for the education and academic sector, the mostly used model. However, what is the use cases that we are looking at is mostly entertainment and building, connecting the people. Like one of the issues there is using the generative AI to build photorealistic avatars that would represent people and embody specific people. In our case, those are different creators with whom people could have phone calls and so on. However, the same technology can be used for many different applications, such as different AI bodies that you could use to get your education, or they can represent your doctor. On one of the previous, I think on a previous panel, we had somebody talking about health, and the question was how you can get this empathy that your doctor will be giving that. And this is something that we can currently do with the technology that we have, building these photorealistic avatars that could in fact very genuinely react to what people say and do. So tomorrow I will be talking about that on a different stage if you are interested in photorealistic avatars and the technology from Imperial College London, where I'm professor, and Meta, you can visit.
Yeah, well, when you and I were speaking offline, I was excited to hear that one of the personas that's being taken on is Jane Austen, obviously wearing my reading hat. And then you responded, well, the one that people are most excited about is Snoop Dogg, so.
Yes, the issue is that there is this, Snoop Dogg is actually playing Dungeon Master. So I think this is one of the most popular agents that we are having currently. Yeah.
Adel, I'd like to put the question to you because, again, you and I were just talking now, and you mentioned that there is going to be an Aviation Future Week in about a month's time, and that on day 3 of this event, you've devoted a full day, I think, to discussing artificial intelligence and how it's going to shake up things in the airlines industry. So, how was it? Give us a taster.
Yeah, I think, thank you for mentioning that. You revealed the secret for the Aviation Future Week, I think on the 15th, 16th, 17th of October. AI has become our partner in everything we do. It's just about how much you extract out of it. AI, today, if we train it properly, and we populate it with the right level of data, it will give us a lot more than what we have today. We're just scratching the surface of the benefits of what AI can do to a customer, what AI can do to an organization. In my opinion, I think we are in a single-digit number of utilizing AI. We still got a huge opportunity to make companies more efficient, more accurate, more effective in delivering a service, and at the same time also what a customer can gain from a more accurate information and delivering of service to them. So that's what we are dealing with right now, and then within the airline, and an airline is one of the industry can benefit. You're talking about the health system, you're talking about the education system and energy sector. Quite a lot of sector can gain out of it, but we need to mature a bit. We seem to be so excited every day with a new gadget here and there, and we haven't had the chance to mature the benefit of AI and its implications or implementation within our industry.
How is it likely to affect the end user? So as someone who travels quite a lot, am I actually going to feel the differences myself as an end user of AI adoption, or is it just going to affect the business operations of the airlines, and it's going to be less of a consumer concern, but actually more of a focus for the business?
You know, I think we need to be mindful and not be blind in applying AI. And here I use example, some of the call centers today, you have it in many sectors, they have developed and implemented a call center, automated call center, without really properly studying and populating it with the right data. Today you're spending more time and wasting more time in listening to a call center than is actually benefiting you, because we removed the human side of it and we did not inject the right data in the call centers. In us, for example, if we look at an airline, if we are able to collect the data and predict the accuracy, the food we can put on board the aircraft, and how much we can remove from the wastage today, that's a great benefit to the airline and reducing wastage, but at the same time to the customer to be able to deliver to them exactly what they want and what they want to have. At the same time, when we're talking about operating an aircraft and how we're going to be dealing in the future and operating an aircraft, is it more accurate to deal with such aircraft with one pilot or with 2 pilots. And in the past, we used to have 3 people on board an aircraft. We used to have flight engineer and people who were what's going to happen here. We removed the flight engineer completely, and we removed the navigator from the aircraft completely, and we relied on machines in there to accurately analyze things for us. Going forward, that's what we're working with, is to get something more accurate and analyzing, monitoring the performance of the aircraft, and predict the next step. If I take it a step further in inventory, for example, our spares, many companies suffer today by having to have an inventory. If I take Emirates, we have an engineering close to 11 or 12 billion dirham and of inventory. If I use AIs and to its full usage to predict more accurately what we need in there, and we reduce, let's say, in a single digits figure, then you're talking about millions of dirhams in here saving, because you're able to predict what you need in a more accurate manner. So I think the use cases for AI, whether for a customer or whether for an enterprise, is endless.
And just speaks to this optimization and increase of efficiency that artificial intelligence can bring along. Dr. Bernd, I'd like to ask you, from a financial services perspective, the CEO of a bank, I've been covering and speaking to bank CEOs for many years now, and there's this constant question of revenue growth versus cost growth, and you obviously want your revenue to be growing faster than your costs are growing. And I do wonder how you think about the amount of investment that you're putting into artificial intelligence, knowing that at some point in the future you are going to reap the gains of productivity, but it's not going to be on day one. So how do you balance the investment versus, again, the desire to keep your costs low?
First of all, I'm delighted to be here, and especially on this panel, because for us it's all about use cases. It's about practical application today. And of course the investments that we made are for a longer future, but the way that we want to do it is through pilots that give us something today. We focused on workplace improvement, seeing how we can improve the experience for our employees through using Copilot. Like Mr. Adel was saying, we built our own chatbot, our AI-based chatbot. Definitely not perfect, but a step up from where we were. And if we combine it in the right way with human intelligence, then it should give a better experience to our customers. And we're looking at optimizing efficiencies in our processes. We've done a very successful use case in check scanning. As you know, checks are very important in the UAE. The matching of checks used to be a manual exercise. We now do it through a combination of machine learning and high quality computer vision, and that actually has improved the performance. The matching is better now than it used to be, and it also again improved our employee experience, because this is not the most exciting job in the world, and our colleagues are now able to do something better. So you're right, it is about investing, and I think banks in general know that they need to invest in new technologies and have always done so, but it's investing in technology in such a way that we see some benefits today as well.
What do you think some of the most promising use cases are? I mean, you talked about what you've done, but what are you looking to use generative AI for in the future?
I think we will use it across all three of those angles. So we will use it more than we already do today in terms of innovating our workplace. I see that that's a massive step up already. What we can do today with Copilot in not only making our colleagues more efficient, but also essentially making their jobs better than or more interesting than they are today, that we will continue to do. We have a long way to go on getting the interaction with the customer right through our chatbot. It could be a matter of training. There's some issues with ambiguity that the chatbot doesn't like too much. Context is a difficult thing. And what I personally really want to get right is sort of the transfer from an artificial agent to a human agent. Because nothing I hate more than a artificial agent that doesn't know what it doesn't know, and sort of keeps on trying and you get stuck. in a position where you desperately want to get out as a customer. So there we have quite some way to go. And I think the check scanning is only one example of stuff, of activities, of value-adding activities we can employ across our processes. Another very obvious one is in transaction monitoring. There's lots of things we need to do as a bank. We already deploy some very simple machine learning, but if we can do more there, then it will not only be better for us in terms of efficiency, but it will also massively improve our customer experience, because it will mean that more of the transactions will flow through straight through as they are supposed to do.
Yeah. Chris, let me turn to you now. Perhaps we can just start off with an overview of what AIQ actually does, and I guess the clue is in the name. We've got 2 letters that might be relevant.
Sure, thanks, Mona. And if I may, first of all, thanks very much. Great privilege to be here with such esteemed guests and panelists. And if I may also go back to the point you said to the audience earlier on books. Another interesting book for you is by Jack Hidary, and it's called AI or Die. Now, don't read anything into that in the wrong way. It's a really interesting book. It goes through all the backgrounds, explaining, what machine learning is and so on. Very interesting book if you get time. So AIQ, I actually asked the question, I had to ask the question when I joined AIQ about a year ago, what does it stand for? You'd think it's pretty obvious, but it's about AI and the IQ of the people coming together. So it's integrating AI with a team. So we as AIQ, we were formed about 4 years ago. And I have to say, it was thanks to the forward-thinking leadership of the UAE and the leadership of ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. They recognized at that stage there was immense value that could be leveraged from integrating AI across the entire value chain of ADNOC's business. So we were formed as a joint venture between ADNOC and Group 42 at the time. Taking that forward, here we are almost 4 years on, and we've built nearly 20 AI products that work across the value chain and filed 16 patents.
Chris, speaking of leadership, I'm very pleased to announce that His Highness the Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Crown Prince of Dubai, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense for UAE, has just graced us with his presence, and we are delighted that you're here. Thank you so much for hosting this event. It's a real honor to be talking about artificial intelligence in Dubai, and just to speak of what His Excellency Mr. Al-Alama was saying before, and the ambitions for Dubai to become a global AI hub, His Excellency and His Highness's presence here really underscores that drive and that ambition. Chris, over to you, you were saying.
Well, if I may take this opportunity, Your Highness, and just point out again, it's thanks to the forward-thinking leadership of the UAE that organizations like AIQ have been formed. So as I said, we've filed 16 patents. All of that is made here in the Emirates in the last 3.5, 4 years. And we had a slight change in shareholding back in May. And that's now yielded, as you heard about unicorns. So AIQ was formally announced as a unicorn in the AI space back in the May timeframe, as a result of that, with a valuation of $1.4 billion.
Yeah. One of the big questions people ask in the context of the applications of artificial intelligence is whether you're visibly seeing those increases in productivity. Do you see it? Do you actually notice an increase in efficiency in your operations?
We see it and we measure it. My chairman is His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber. And believe me, he's got a very stringent focus on integrating AI everywhere. And I can tell you there's been a piece of work going on looking at the investments in digital technology, because you need that founding layer first before you can get the AI inferencing. Building on top of that, as soon as you deploy the AI inferencing, we're seeing an order of magnitude of value on top of those investments. And interestingly, the AI investments and deployments across ADNOC's estate last year alone in 2023 actually yielded net new incremental value of over $500 million. So we're implementing these solutions, but to the point that Adel said earlier, we are literally just scratching the surface. The opportunity is immense.
I was actually reading a report in the context of energy that artificial intelligence could ultimately lower the cost of shale extraction by 30% over the next 10, 20 years. So obviously that has implications as well on the energy space. But I want to go back to Maja now. Earlier on, we were talking about Meta and some of the excitement around the entertainment applications for artificial intelligence. But of course, this does raise a lot of challenges, potential pitfalls as well. And when you're talking about some of these avatars, there's going to be a lingering concern about this so-called deep fake phenomenon, when you're using someone's likeness, but not necessarily asking for their permission, could be tools of disinformation. How do you think about all of that?
Yes, the technology as developed currently, Meta is not the only company doing this. Microsoft has very good tech as well. There are other smaller companies like Synthesia and HeyGen. I will talk about that tomorrow, but this technology is really capable of impersonating somebody and presenting it, giving this online presence in a way that is very genuine and believable, to that extent that currently with our technology we can have probably between 10 and half an hour of data and represent people so that the acquaintances cannot recognize whether this person is real or not. So whether you're talking, if we are talking about myself, whether that's me or a replica of me. This is for acquaintances. So in principle, if I have 2 hours of the data, I can build models that in principle, your own mother will not know if it is you or not you. So I think this is, there is, of course, millions of dangers with this. Banks are definitely one of the first sectors, that financial sectors that could be in danger, because we are currently having some of the banks in UK where the app, when you are opening an account, is asking you really to look into this phone and say a number or a set of numbers or set of words. Recording a video with your face or anybody's face here is very easy with this technology, and so this bank will not know whether this is a real person or not. Yeah. This goes further down to the fact that you know, not only accounts, but in principle, in any of the governmental affairs, this could be quite problematic. We have one of the cases in Hong Kong when a board of directors were sitting together and they were having a meeting in which information has been revealed and received from this kind of technology, and quite a big loss has been accumulated. We are talking about billions currently. So when somebody mentioned that we will use the data on the board meetings and AI for the board meetings in order to summarize that, that's a great idea. However, be in the room, I would suggest. So, so I think that there are a lot of these applications, mostly this deep fake, that we need to take care of. Yeah. Politicians are definitely target, known figures. People can claim that with this technology that people are somewhere where they're not. So these are the things that people should think about it. And I would just say one of the main ways of protecting yourself is take care of your videos and your images and where do you put these, and your online presence should be very much controlled by yourself.
Adel, let me put the question to you, because we spoke about the transformational role that artificial intelligence will play for and in the airline industry. But again, if you go back, I think it was a month ago now, there was one software upgrade that came through from CrowdStrike, and within hours, you had airlines grounded, you had many systems not operating, and it really just showed how concentrated some of these risks actually are, particularly when you're thinking about things like the software that underpins your business, not necessarily Emirates, obviously, I'm just speaking in general. So how do you think about those risks, and how do you think about these types of threats? How do you bolster, future-proof your business so that you're not vulnerable to something as simple as a software upgrade?
I mean, it's a great question. And that's where I think the trap that we're falling into and could fall into, the more we depends on IT or application or website, the more we encouraged, and we ignore the cybersecurity and the firewalling side of it. And that's an element where there's a need to do more investment, and we need to enhance the firewalls and the cybersecurity protocols whenever we are really introducing more of these applications. And the other element of it is the use of blockchain and the use of Web3. You will notice we have been shifting from Web2 to Web3 right now, and some of the companies are still getting hold to the Web2 technology because it is centralized control of data and centralized monitoring of this kind of communication. And that's provided them obviously with the control they want, but also with the quite an increased commercial enhancement. Once we move to Web3 and rely on a blockchain activity where it's become decentralized and we have more than one entity in managing the whole thing, the risk of encryptions gets less. You don't know who you're talking to or who's monitoring your data. It is all well protected. So I think that's where we would be moving and going in the near future. We need to ensure the data protection of our customer. We need to ensure the data protections for our employees. And here, when we introduce the AI ethics, I think that's when the industry will be going toward, is that how do we give the confidence to our customers of the AI ethics and the management of that data and what you're allowed to do with the data and what you are not allowed to do with the data.
Well, Dr. Bernd, it's not always going to be, you're not going to get 100% success rates when you're introducing and implementing AI and incorporating them into your systems. Can you talk us through some examples where things actually didn't work out the way you would have liked and how you dealt with it?
Well, not sure if I can explain how we dealt with it, because I think part of it is work in progress and will remain that way for a very long time. The biggest challenge we found, and it's not something new, but it becomes more exposed when you really start looking at AI use cases, is data. Data quality, data accessibility, and sort of trustfulness of data. It's a massive issue for banks. This is the third bank I work at now, and over the past 25 years, every bank has had this issue in roughly the same way. The key to me there is defining very clear data ownership, data governance, and make sure that the whole organization understands that this is a process. This is not a project. I think the biggest mistake you can make is to start a data cleansing project, and I think I've been part of at least 4 or 5, and then once the project is over, people believe you're done and now everything is fine. Because maintaining your data and keeping your data at a high quality, at a high quality level, is crucially important and is a process, not a project. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we see. That's not one that will go away, but this will always continue to be work in progress. In terms of implementations, I think we had probably expected more of our chatbot initially, but we found that she had a hard time dealing with things like context, ambiguity, different way of phrasing. We have many nationalities in the UAE. Each of us using a different sort of English. Our chatbot talks in English, and really a hard time getting to grips with all of that. It could be a matter of having to learn more from the interaction, not necessarily from the data, but hopefully from the interaction. Work in progress, and I think getting the interaction better between our artificial and human agents. I already mentioned it before. I think that's another area where we need to do better than we do today.
Yeah, I mean, all of that takes time. It takes time for these models to train. Chris, I was reading a statistic put forward, or actually I would say a forecast put forward by the IEA, that's the International Energy Agency, to speak about energy, and they were saying that they estimate that by 2026, about 1.5 to 3% of total global electricity consumption will be consumed by these data centers that are powering this AI technology. And I just wonder whether you think that's an interesting juxtaposition with what you do, which is providing AI solutions, but at the same time, it's also quite an energy-intensive business, isn't it? How do you square it up?
It is indeed. You've got this dichotomy, simple fact. The power requirements to run and build and test and train the AI models globally is growing significantly. At the same time, what we're doing is leveraging AI to improve the efficiencies of the operations and the way that gas and oil, for example, are extracted, whilst at the same time focusing on renewables. So remember, you've got two things happening here. We're trying to improve the efficiency of the way in which we're generating the energy in the first place, whilst at the same time using AI as well to bring down the emissions. But again, you've raised that elephant in the room. There is a big challenge globally now that there's a huge increase in energy requirements happening to drive and support this AI focus. There are people looking at it, there are some challenges.
What about the other major concern that comes up as well, is that that these type of technologies are going to replace human jobs? What have you seen?
The other elephant in the room, how many times do we hear that? Is they going to take my job?
Yeah.
I'd suggest just type it into ChatGPT. What does it say? It's an emphatic no, okay? But it's an interesting one, because the one thing I'm explaining to my staff and anyone I speak to, doesn't matter what industry you're in, AI is here and it's here to stay. There's an incredible opportunity that can be leveraged, utilizing and understanding the value that AI will bring to enable you to enhance your daily jobs. So for example, in our industry, we're using AI and it's improving health and safety. It's reducing emissions. So we're using AI and robotics, whereby it's enabling drones to go in and do inspections in small enclosures, in challenged areas where from a health and safety perspective, you don't want to be sending individuals out. So it's improving the efficiencies, and it's improving the opportunities that our staff have, and talking to our staff within the energy industry, to leverage and do more with their time. I heard earlier from Dr. Bernd there about Copilot. ADNOC, for example, is one of the world's largest implementations of Copilot. The operational savings that makes is phenomenal. And that's a very simple tool in many ways.
Well, I'm going to end with one question that I'm going to pose to all of you, which is, I guess, relevant for the layman of us out there who aren't super familiar with all of the mechanics and the math that goes into all of this. But my question is essentially around, what advice would you give to people trying to navigate artificial intelligence within your respective industries? So Maja, I'd like to start with you.
I really believe that education plays a key role here. I don't think education should stop at the time that we finish university, master's, doctorate, whatever. I think that it is important that we have continuously access to maybe not very deep dives into the models, but yes, into some kind of summary of what is novel, how things works, and why, for example, certain models can do specific things and why they cannot do other things. Then all this question of whether, artificial intelligence will reach human intelligence could be answered. And the answer is no. Simple no, not when, it's no. So it is really important to understand how AI works. So, and what I would say, executive education is one way. This is just a fancy word. What we really mean with executive education is giving the courses to people who are on leading positions or just enthusiasts about specific topics within AI and providing them with deep enough knowledge to understand how they can use it, what are the pitfalls, and what are the benefits that they can reap from AI.
And the same question to you as it pertains to the airline industry.
I think I always work in a triangle, 3 points. Whenever we introduce an application related to IT or AI, it must trigger minimum 2. What is going to do to the customer? What is going to do to the airline or the company? And what is going to benefit to the community? I can't go and introduce innovatives or initiatives that will only gain the airline out of it, but provide a very poor customer service or increase the emission in the community. It has to meet at least 2 of these points. And that's how we are measuring with any initiative that we are introducing. We're taking time sometimes, but we want to make sure we're introducing something that's gonna benefit our customers or the community, or a combination of customer, community, and the company.
I guess it goes back to what His Excellency Al-Alama was saying earlier, Mr. Al-Alama, in that there is a desire and an ambition for Dubai to be a global AI hub, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Dubai is going to be competing on chip design and things like that, but more so it will be a hub whereby you're going to get and see and experience the best use cases for artificial intelligence. Is going to impact you as a consumer, somebody living in Dubai, in a way that surpasses other places around the world.
I think just my colleague Jesse was mentioning point, and you raised the question about data centers and how much power the data center is consumed. And it show you the vision of the leadership in UAE and Dubai, where we have DIWA and through a subsidiary Moro, creating data centers in Dubai using solar energies. That is one of the unique and one only in the world that can be used to support data storage, but using solar energy to do that. So that is a benefit back to the community, and we're using AI to help us in doing that. And I think we sit in an excellent platform in UAE, where we have the right vision in the country, we have the right motives, and we have somebody who's really ahead of us in their vision when it comes to technology. Because technology will not work if you don't have the right infrastructure, if you don't have the right support behind it, and if you don't have the right motive to do it. So I think we're sitting in one of the best places for technology incubators, or for technology really to move ahead.
Dr. Bernd, your best advice for navigating this so-called coming wave?
I think I would focus on 3 things, if I may. I think, first of all, identify the areas where artificial intelligence can really augment human intelligence, because that to me is key. This is not about replacing. I fully agree with Maja on that. This is really about augmenting human intelligence. So that's one. I think Maja mentioned it as well, continuous learning and development of the whole organization, because jobs will not be replaced, but jobs will change on the back of AI. And I fully agree with Chris, AI is there to stay, and we only scratch the surface. This is the tip of the iceberg. It will be very pervasive across all industries and all processes. And I think the last point, and perhaps a bit more down to earth, really focus on getting and keeping your data right. Because without having your own high quality, accessible, single source of truth type of data, it will be very hard to get the most out of this fascinating technology.
Your model is so good as your data is. Absolutely. So good as your data is. Chris, and then final word to you. You've already given us a book recommendation, but what advice would you give for peers and consumers looking to navigate your industry?
Sure, I'll keep the theme to 3, as has just been depicted. What do we need for AI? You need infrastructure. We have great quality infrastructure here in the UAE. You need data, high volumes, but of really good data. So any organization, focus on the cybersecurity, focus on data sovereignty, and focus on data cleansing before you start to build the models, because simply put, junk in, junk out. The third element is people. What makes AIQ unique is that rather than just having data scientists and software engineers, we actually bring in subject matter experts from the industry, because they can understand how we can mimic those real life situations of what it's like on the ground. And around that, very much linked back to the education piece, encourage the youth to get educated, embrace AI now. I've got a few grey hairs. You know, I studied Fortran 77. Don't encourage your kids to do that. But these days, children under the age of 10 are learning Python. The world has changed, the world is transforming, so encourage education, focus on cleansing your data, but then do an analysis as to which are the AI solutions, whether it's model-based or generative AI, that will add the most significant value to your business, and focus on those first.
Well, I guess that's a nice place to leave it. Actually, my 4-year-old daughter just started school last week, and one of the extracurricular activities they're offering is data scientist for a 4-year-old. So maybe I've got to start them young. Panelists, thank you so much. This was a real pleasure. Thank you very much, audience.